always said that visit to Nigeria was riddled with, well, lots of potholes, as it were. When you think about it, earlier this year they went on that cosplay sort of tour of Nigeria, and Meghan announcing that she was 43% Nigerian and literally sitting on a stage saying that she was home amongst her people. And then, of course, Prince Harry took it a stage further, didn't he, when he was addressing the people at the Invictus Games rally and basically said, oh, it was going to get competitive now because his wife had discovered that she was 43% Nigerian. And, of course, with them now taking part in the Games, well, it could get a little bit messy. You kind of wonder who fell for what worse, don't you? But what's interesting here is exactly now why Meghan's simply saying no to Nigeria. Let me explain. Morning, how are you? Are you all right? Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out to join me, particularly when I'm not feeling 100%. Don't want to moan, but I still want to talk to you because it's important. I like being out here in the air. It does me a lot of good, actually, yeah. I think sometimes, I don't know if you find this, when you're cooped up and you don't get the air, you kind of feel even worse, don't you? You know what I mean? It's a big drag to get yourself out, I know. But when you get there, you think, feel a little bit better, if only for 10 minutes, don't you? Yes, you're with me, aren't you? By the way, we've got a lot of interest about the electric blankets. I know. I'm still nervous about lying on an electric blanket, though, yeah. I felt a little bit like Frankenstein, you know, with a blue light coming around me, flashing through during the night and zinging along. You never know. You have to be careful, don't you? As ever, though, let's get back to your royal story of the day. Yes, Nigeria was the big thing, wasn't it? You know, there she was, Meghan Markle, trolling up and down, talking as if, you know, she'd suddenly discovered her home. And what was interesting, I always said, if you remember, at the time that the people who'd hosted Meghan Markle, despite their sort of requests, never received anything to sort of back up this claim. So far, the only thing that we have as any backup for Meghan Markle being Nigerian is the fact that apparently, according to her, well, she discovered it while doing a sort of genealogy sort of, run around, and this is exactly how she came up. Now, we don't know if this was verified by anybody or not, but suddenly, a little bit like when she was Maltese a couple of years back, and she could possibly be, you know, people's makeup is of many different things, but you would think, particularly when you're taking out a fake visit, that you might want to take something along that says, well, here's the proof. At the time, I told you, didn't I, that, you know, they kept requesting it. What do you have that we can include in our records? Perhaps copy it and put it in our libraries. Suddenly, this all went very silent. But at this point, the tour's underway. Now, what I've been told from a source who's currently working with Meghan is, and this was an interesting thing, because again, this would have been a nod to her heritage, wouldn't it? You see, in the cooking show for Netflix, they decided at one point that they were going to look at some of the many countries that Harry and Meghan had visited, you know, particularly picking up on recipes that she may have been inspired by, you know, the sort of thing, like when I went there, they had wonderful chickpeas, or there was this lovely mint sauce, or whatever, you know, that type of thing. Well, apparently, you know, it's a no to Nigeria, even though the company and the producers and everything said, well, look, given you've just been to the country and you've obviously sampled their fare, would you not like to include something like that so that it's, you know, it could do well if we sell it out there? Apparently this was just met with a stunned silence. Now it gets even worse. According to that source, there has to be no reference now to Nigeria at all. Meghan's heritage, anything like that, Doria's heritage. Seemingly that story, a little bit like 40 times 40, is one that we're meant to forget. A little bit like the secret wedding, the engagement interview, the orchestrated reality. Suddenly Meghan's brought the curtain down on that story, and for no real reason, you know, why. Apparently the team are too frightened to ask, but either way, Nigeria looks like it's well and truly over. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.